So here's a little bit of acid-base review. So in terms of strong acids and bases, key things to remember there are that your strong acid always fully breaks apart. So your HCl goes to H plus and Cl minus 100%. So if you are told that you have 1 molar HCl, you immediately know you have 1 molar H plus. They just expect them to completely fall apart. So determining their H plus concentrations is just how much did the acid contain. Now if you had something like 1 molar H2SO4, well, that breaks apart into 2 H plus and an SO4 2 minus, so really it becomes 2 molar H plus. But we expect all the acidic protons to break off a strong acid and base. Where you'll have questions like that, what will come up is if you were to mix 10 milliliters of 1 molar HCl plus 5 milliliters of 0.9 molar NaOH. You would find out how many moles you have of each one. So you'd say, hey, the moles of HCl minus the mole of NaOH. What's my remaining HCl? And then you could solve the concentration of H plus, and you could solve the pH. And so that's the type of question come up for strong acids and bases. In terms of weak acids and bases, there are 2 main formulas that we're going to work here. And really just the same formula, 2 ways to do it. Ka equals our H plus, our base, over our acid. This is used for every single combination. It will be set up this way. The type of questions you'll be asked for weak acids and bases would be like, find pH. Right? So you'd be told you had 1 molar of the acid, you had 1 molar of the base, and you'd be given the Ka 1.8 times 10 to the minus 5. So you would plug them in. You'd say, 1.8 times 10 to the minus 5 is my Ka. I don't know my H plus, but I do know my base and my acid. You could solve your H plus, and then you could find the pH by taking the negative log of that H plus. Now you don't just have to find the pH. You could get a problem where you are told the pH. I mean, if you had a similar one where you had Ka, again 1.8 times 10 minus 5, your HAC is 1 molar, but you're told that your pH is 3. Well, where do we get pH from? The negative log of the H plus. So remember that if I want to convert this to find H plus, 10 to the negative pH equals the H plus. So if you're told the pH in a problem, well, Ka equals H plus base over acid. We know the acid. The pH actually lets us know the H plus, and we're given the Ka. So you might be asked to solve the concentration of base or the acid. Like you could be given any 3 of these and asked to solve the 4th. So that's a situation where you have a mixture of weak acid and weak base, and you're trying to solve some info about it. But there's also weak acid solution, pH. So this was an example where you only have your weak acid. You don't have the mixture. So, like just a bottle of vinegar. Vinegar is acetic acid. You can make a buffer by throwing some sodium acetate, so you get some of the acetate, the base, in there. But if you just have the vinegar, then you only have the acid. HAC in equilibrium with H plus and AC minus. Initially, we'll just say it's 1 mole again. You have 1 mole of this and none of the others. You have some amount of acid and none of the other material. Well, you would lose some of your weak acid, you would gain some of your products, so you'd end up with a little less starting material and a little bit more products. And you can plug these in. My Ka equals some amount of H plus, the same amount of base, and my starting amount minus what was lost of my product. What we saw is that, well, if Ka is small, then X is very tiny, so really this just looks like 1. And so really what we end up with is Ka equals X over acid as a general formula. Since those X's are the same, an easy formula to remember for this is that a pure solution of weak acid, my Ka equals X squared over my acid concentration. And so X will equal my H plus, and so we can solve our pH of a pure weak acid, or at least, sorry, pure weak acid solution. As long as you know the concentration of the acid, you can solve what the H plus is, and then you can find that pH. And so it's really the same formula, but those are the two formulas. Ka equals H plus base over acid when you have a mixture, and Ka equals X squared over acid when you have pure weak acid solution. So those two formulas are going to be kind of the most handy to be able to do these problems. All right, quick review on the bullet points of what to know for acids and bases and how to solve your pHs.